Hello, it's Friday tomorrow. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jake. Coming up in this week's show, Red Dead Redemption 2, Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
And we talk about Telltale Games. Those people, what made those Telltale games. Were you going to say something then? Great.
So Rockstar are putting out Red Dead Redemption 2 really soon, and they've been sharing a lot more information about it.
Yeah, loads of stuff, loads of details, very small details, but interesting details, because when a game is this big, even details about like vultures and the HUD and things like that, people go mental for. So here's a bit of voiceover about all of that. Red Dead Redemption 2 is of course the upcoming cowboy versus cowboy battle royale game from Rockstar, due out on PS4 and Xbox One on October the 26th. In it, 100 cowboys are dropped from a flying steam train in the sky onto one big map, which is probably vaguely Eastern European in setting. It's up to you to salvage cowboy body armour, painkillers and assault rifles in a bid to be the last cowboy standing and become the ultimate hunger gamer, but it also has actual real multiplayer for grown-ups. It's called Red Dead Online, and we don't know too much about it yet. But this week, Rockstar has been sharing a lot of details about Red Dead Redemption 2's world and single player. The company's actually been on a serious marketing offensive over the last few days, allowing privileged members of the game's journalist elite an extended hands-on with the game. Makes me sick. First, the big headlines. Red Dead Redemption 2 is playable entirely in first person, all the way through the game. GameSpot said, based on what several of its staff saw of the game behind closed doors recently, that it seems more weighty and involved than regular first-person games. First person was a feature first introduced into Rockstar's open-world games when GTA 5 came to PC, PS4 and Xbox One. And you can disable the HUD, which means a completely unspoiled image. But even so, the HUD by default is incredibly minimal, showing really only the minimap in the bottom corner of the screen. Big news for sad, tragic losers like me who spend more time in photo mode than actually playing a game. Another nice touch in that department is the fact that the cinematic camera, which should be familiar to any Rockstar Games fans, triggers automatically during certain situations, such as riding a horse on long journeys. You can inspect items in the world as well, for example, by browsing what a shop has on its shelves rather than simply scrolling through a menu, and player character Arthur will even pick them up and manipulate them in his hands. This is also how you interact with story and world building objects like notes and photos.
Wow, well that was electrifying then. Elsewhere, the game shows the weapons you're carrying on the actual character, and the detail here is pretty serious. You can even shoot enemies' guns out of their hands to either disarm or even break their weapons. But if you do have to go lethal, a Max Payne 3 style kill cam will frame the last kill cinematically in either a more heroic or brutal fashion based on how you've been playing the game. Guns are customizable with options like personalised engraving and leather wraps, and some weapons are craftable like Molotovs. But it doesn't end there. Every cowboy cleans their guns and that, it's just part of the thing. Well, you'll have to do that in Red Dead Redemption 2 as well, and unkept guns can rust and even become jammed. Deadeye, the gunfight mode that slows down time, has 5 levels of complexity, from simply slowing down time at level 1 to selecting and painting critical targets at higher levels.
You can use your guns in other ways than just shooting people as well. You can use them to simply scare people off as a warning shot. There's literally a button for shooting your guns into the air. But you could always not shoot anything at all and try talking to people instead. Based on their time with the game, GameSpot said, quote, aiming at people with your gun holstered will give you access to a contextual menu which lets you chat to people in the world. You'll often find the option to verbally diffuse or agitate situations with other inhabitants in the world, and these interactions seemed quite fluid and natural during our short time with the game. And also in the realm of keeping your guns holstered is the art of the humble fist, which is a sick name for a martial art that I have just invented. Punching people in Red Dead Redemption 2 is very much an option. Rockstar showed GameSpot a fist fight where Arthur used grapple moves, blocks and a variety of different punches to knock out his opponent.
Hunting is obviously one of the biggest bullet points for a lot of people who love Red Dead, and there should be plenty to appeal here. Presentation has been ramped up to be especially grisly. If you're going to kill and skin a pretend animal, you better believe this game makes you look that pretend animal in the eye when you do it. And the nightmare doesn't end there. When the animal is skinned, you'll have to carry it back to the butcher to get the meat. But get this, time is a thing in Red Dead Redemption 2, and that meat and that carcass can rot if left for too long.
So that's it. That's a lot of new details about Red Dead Redemption 2. I think it feels like a lot about, you know, authenticity and realism, and that's what they're shooting for in it. Because a lot, I'll cast your minds back to a couple of months. Maybe not even that, but some people had seen like a behind closed doors demo. It was like game employees or GameStop employees.
That was like 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
3 weeks. Cast your minds back 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
To when, you know, some GameStop employees got to play it or see it at least.
That's it. And they were falling asleep.
They were saying it was boring.
Yeah. Because this was the focus on like just a whole slice of gameplay. No sizzle reels, which is normally what we see. And it was, they were saying a lot of traversing and a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, this time, I can't remember if the first one had 200 types of animals. But that's the sort of details that we're getting this time around. Like 200 species of wildlife, different types of fish, vultures, frogs, coyotes and that. Loads of different things. And then they've been shown pictures of fishing, hunting in the different terrain. You got to see some nice pictures of snow, which we've not seen in any...
I like the fact about time that we mentioned just in the voiceover there about the corpses that kind of rot. So if you do a bit of hunting, then if you keep the carcass on the back of your horse for too long, it'll rot, right? But then that plays into other stuff as well. So like very much like I guess The Witcher, like the hair will grow out.
Or real life.
Or real life, in fact.
What's that like when they grow hair out? It's CD Projekt.
Such a great idea. That's such a cool idea. So the hair like grows out like, but what's cool about that is, you know, in Grand Theft Auto and stuff, if you want a Mohican or whatever, you can just have a Mohican if you go to the
just like real life.
Just like real life. But in this one, you've got to you've got to grow it out. So you can only trim back. You can only cut your beard back or trim stuff out.
You can't just click a button to go from clean shaven to
Now this is what I was talking about right at the beginning of the video. That's such a minor detail, but it is cool, right? It is cool. It is cool. I do like that. I do really like that kind of attention to detail, and the fact that time kind of is a factor in it. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the horses and stuff as well in the game. Because the horse riding and stuff is a massive part of the game. If you remember Red Dead Redemption 1, you're riding a horse most of the game, really. Yeah. You're riding from A to B, you know.
I think the first thing that we heard about Red Dead Redemption gameplay was when those two guys from IGN got to play it, and a lot of it was that a lot of the stuff that they were getting told was about the bond with your horse.
Yeah.
Remember, so it's something that from the very, very beginning they've been really pushing, and stuff like if you grow a bond with your horse, there's less chance that they'll run away if they see a snake and stuff like that, or fall off a cliff and whatever.
And there's 19 breeds of horse that you can use. You got to feed the horse. You got to feed yourself. You got to look after yourself. You got to groom. I don't know how much of a thing this is, but
just
grooming,
like real life.
Just like real life. Grooming is a thing. Like you've got to look after the horse, as in like keep it groomed. I think.
Probably getting matted and that. I can imagine that'll affect.
Which is like crazy. But and we said in the voiceover as well. You got to clean your guns and all this stuff that Clint Eastwood does in between shooting people in the head.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's cleaning guns, grooming a horse. Tending the farm.
Is he doing that?
Yeah, you've seen films.
Even with a little hand comb. There we go,
yeah, and they're talking about the old girl and how she's 7 years old, and she's,
like a proud father.
Yeah,
you're right though. It's proper like they've looked at all the Western B-roll and then they've gone, let's get on to do all that. It's the immersion aspect of it, and I think that it'll do really well because of that. People like the realism in games like this. They forget about the fact that you'd killed about 400 people by the end of the game, but it's a detail. San Andreas had the whole exercise system, and all that
loads of stats, didn't they?
Yeah, and people love it. People still talk about that, and there's mods to put that in all the other games and stuff like that. So having these features in and just stuff like that being unkept, will affect how you get spoken to. Is cool.
It's role play, not in the traditional sense you'd think of of board games and video games and stuff. It's not that kind of role play, but it really is. In a different way, they really want you to feel like you are a cowboy, and to feel like you're, out in the Old West and stuff. And my favorite detail that we haven't mentioned yet is the fact that you can get, gang members. The whole story is centered on this gang, and you've got camps and stuff, and you've got to set up camp and move camp, and you've got to work for the camp a lot of the time. You've got to hunt food for it and stuff like that, and keep everyone fed. But you can actually take gang members out with you on free roam, which I always love that in games. I always love, being like the one man, CEO, one man army who does everything is like I don't know. I just in terms of pure storytelling and immersion, I like to. If you're a leader, I would like to lead. I would like people to be with me when I'm doing stuff. And
just
the fact
like
that,
real life.
Just like real life. So I like that they've got that in there that you can take gang members out with you. And all in all, I mean, it's just shaping up nicely, isn't it?
Yeah,
it looks really cool.
It's going to be massive. We all know it, but now we know it a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And ain't that the truth? So let's take a minute to talk about Telltale Games, another big thing. What happened in the last week? Telltale Games was of course the company that essentially defined a genre that was named after the company itself. Telltale Games. It covered some of the most popular IPs going, including the Walking Dead series, Game of Thrones, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Everyone knows what a Telltale game is at this point. Episodic, story-driven, limited interaction but for making decisions and dialogue, quick time events, and walking around picking things up and looking at things. It sounds shite, but a lot of people did really like it. Well, the company that made those games is effectively no more. In a statement, the company said, quote, "Today, Telltale Games made the difficult decision to begin a majority studio closure following a year marked by insurmountable challenges. A majority of the company's employees were dismissed earlier this morning, with a small group of 25 employees staying on to fulfill the company's obligations to its board and partners." According to Kotaku, CEO Pete Hawley told employees at a staff-wide meeting the company was letting them and more than 200 other employees go. The skeleton crew of 25, which was retained, is working on a final project which is apparently Minecraft story mode, according to a report by Variety. One of the key details of this sudden news is that employees speaking out on social media say they haven't been given severance pay. One anonymous source told Kotaku staff were encouraged to apply for unemployment as soon as possible. They were given 30 minutes to leave the building.
Now this is desperately sad for the staff in particular, and the wider games industry was very quick to highlight job opportunities on social media for all those affected. But where does this leave the Telltale games that were in the pipeline? Episode 2 of The Walking Dead's final season released just this week. The remaining 2 episodes will now never see the light of day as games. But Telltale Games explained on Twitter that there is hope of at least something to finish the story in some way. Quote, "Multiple potential partners have stepped forward to express interest in helping to see the final season through to completion. While we can't make any promises today, we are actively working towards a solution that will allow episodes 3 and 4 to be completed and released in some form. We hope to have answers for your other questions soon." There's also the question of the deal Telltale had with Netflix. The skeleton crew staying on with Telltale appear to be working on the Minecraft story mode experience for Netflix, while Netflix itself said in a statement that it's in the process of evaluating other options for bringing the Stranger Things universe to life in an interactive medium.
So why did it end like this for him, do you reckon?
Just overstretched. You know, it's. Yeah. I think earlier games were doing really well, and then rather than like maintain the good relationships with all their staff, they were like, we can do 6 of these in a year. And then they did. They literally did. So they just spread the staff too thin. People were walking out. There was loads of like investigations and stuff like that. We did see all the signs.
Yeah, stories coming out about the poor conditions and
turnover of staff and stuff like that. A lot of people saying they've not got severance pay, but a lot of the people there haven't been there long enough to legally be getting severance pay because of the turnover being so high. Everyone was getting stretched thin. The creative teams like Sean Vanneman and stuff like that all left to go on to do like Firewatch and things.
Yeah.
So it seems like the guy at the top was really just like worried about deadlines, games, pre-orders, and you can't do that with such a narrative-heavy game because they've got to come from a creative place. Yeah. You can't have a story game with a shit story. Like Black Ops could have a shit story because people aren't playing it for the story, right? So
in theory, imagine it had a shit story though.
Yeah, in
that'd be an outrage, mate.
In theory, but you can't have a game like this that relies on its story and the passion there. And it seems very patchwork towards the end. People picking up where other developers left off. There was no clear vision. I don't think the people that started The Walking Dead finished The Walking Dead. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, imagine a book series. Imagine Harry Potter if it had 7 different authors.
Yeah.
It'd be a mess. So that's what's gone on.
The engine was a big problem, using exactly this. It was the same game. When you look at it as a video game and not a story, it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Even the Stranger Things, which a bit of footage had leaked.
Yeah.
It's the same engine.
Yeah.
And that is 2018.
Yeah. So Telltale were making games before The Walking Dead. People forget that, but they were making like Sam & Max and Jurassic Park, and there was these other games that was similar, like story-based and episodic and stuff. But The Walking Dead like set up this formula, even to the extent of having cel-shaded comic book-looking graphics. I don't know if it's strictly cel-shaded, but it has that look of being, comic booky type stuff.
The Telltale look.
And that just became... and they did that specifically for The Walking Dead because it was a comic.
Yeah.
That's why they did it. But then they just kept it in for Game of Thrones and stuff,
Yeah.
And they just kept going with it. There's just a lot of problems there. But it's so sad to see, that many creative people losing their jobs in one swoop. But as always happens in the games industry, people have just come out and offered them jobs and pointed them in the direction of like, oh look, this studio is close to where you guys were. We're hiring, all that great stuff. So I've no doubt that they will get jobs. that's not really the point. Like the way they've been left high and dry is a bit shitter.
For you, I guess it's just got then moving on. Like Ubisoft were holding a big event in a restaurant, paying it for like 200 of them to have dinner.
That's right. Yeah.
And so all like Sony, even EA, like all the people that get villainized constantly, are pulling through to get these people through this tough time. And Telltale themselves are in a bit of a weird situation because they've got a skeleton crew. Some people think it's Minecraft, like in a voiceover.
Yeah.
Some people think it's for Stranger Things. We know it's Netflix, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
And what about the people that pre-ordered those season passes?
It's true.
What's going to happen now? And I know that's a question a lot of people have, and I know a lot of people that have bought season passes. So I guess it's very, very unlucky. But I think the thing is to just remember there's a bigger picture, and I know it's really shitty, but it's not the people that work there's fault, is it? Do you know what I mean? They had half an hour to gather their things and fuck off.
Yeah, it's sad to see that many people lose all their jobs. But the one good thing I've seen, so one of the people who actually made redundant themselves were saying is now all these people who are making these great story-based, story-driven ideas with Telltale, those people are now going to disperse and like join different places of the games industry and hopefully raise the game in storytelling terms. Anyway,
like the dwarves in The Hobbit.
Very much like the
Erebor's gone,
but
they're all everywhere, and now taverns all across the fucking Middle Earth have got dwarves.
Have got stout, hardy warriors
on hand, like So you know what I mean? It's one of them. So I think that's it. Just because Erebor's fallen, don't mean that you're not going to get dwarves everywhere.
That dwarf analogy is just
magnifical.
Yeah. Right, it comes from a place of respect. I know this guy, and that's comes from a place of love and respect.
Yeah,
it was not meant to be.
Liam's been playing Castlevania to talk to you about Castlevania, which is coming out at the end of October, like Castlevania, the Netflix show. He'll do a better job of selling it. Go on, Liam.
Liam's done a voiceover.
Earlier this week, Konami announced a new 2-game collection titled Castlevania Requiem, Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood, exclusively for the PS4. As you might expect from the title, this collection includes 1993's excellent Castlevania Rondo of Blood and its sequel, the equally excellent Symphony of the Night from 1997. So with this announcement, we thought it would be cool to take a look back at Symphony of the Night, which is arguably one of the most influential games ever made. Symphony of the Night was first released for the PS1 in 1997, where it was met with critical acclaim but muted financial success. Symphony of the Night was given a limited marketing budget at launch, and Konami never expected the game to become a success in the West. At the time, gaming was adopting 3D graphics as the standard, and Konami thought the game wouldn't sell as well compared to new 3D games. However, it wasn't long before Symphony of the Night developed a cult following thanks to strong reviews and positive word of mouth, and the game went on to become one of the most celebrated PS1 games ever made. In the game, players take control of the vampire Alucard, who travels to Dracula's castle to defeat Richter Belmont, who has proclaimed himself Lord of the Castle. Symphony of the Night was praised for its 2D art, non-linear gameplay, and for incorporating RPG elements not traditionally found in Castlevania games at the time. Assistant director Koji Igarashi said the abrupt change in gameplay style was because he found action games too short, and the sight of older Castlevania games in Japanese bargain bins motivated him to create a game that could be enjoyed for a long time. Igarashi said he used ideas from Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest when designing the exploration in the game, and that the team looked to the Zelda series for inspiration about how to gradually make new areas accessible to players. Igarashi said RPG mechanics were added to the game because he felt older Castlevania games could be too challenging for some players. So to counter this, the team added a new level up system and items so players could slowly become more powerful if an area or enemy happened to be too difficult for them the first time round. Symphony of the Night's gameplay was so influential that it became one of the foundations for a whole new genre, the Metroidvania. After Symphony of the Night released, people started to use the term Metroidvania to describe games which used elements similar to Nintendo's Metroid series, such as the large interconnected map and freedom of exploration. While Metroid is considered by many to be the start of the genre, Symphony of the Night is thought to be the game that defined it. Symphony of the Night's influence is still felt to this day, with many developers, both AAA and indie, citing it as an influence. Shadow Complex, Guacamelee, Cave Story, Dark Souls, and even 2017's Prey are just a few modern games that have cited Metroidvania as a design inspiration. So there you go folks, with the upcoming re-release of Symphony of the Night, I thought it'd be nice just to have a quick look back at the game which went on to inspire so many others. I've been Liam, see you next time.
So that was another excellent edition of the It's Friday Tomorrow show. Thank you very much for watching. Who knows what it'll be next week? Hopefully no more mass layoffs or anything, but maybe...
We did say like a couple of episodes ago, no more eulogies.
No more eulogies.
Then there was.
Well, I really tried not to make the Telltale thing a eulogy because it's kind of a new beginning. You know? I meant that
See you next
earnestly
week,
as well.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I hate myself.
Yeah, fucking sound the music.